let's start with probably the soonest one, A Touch of Evil 10.
Woo!
Yeah. So, we actually have... I built this at 3 a.m. last night, you guys.
So it's a big box.
Somebody was saying, like, why do you do it? Why do you not sleep? And I'm like, you don't understand. I could spend one more hour and like 100 people will get more enjoyment. I feel guilty sleeping. So Jason, here, go ahead. Go tell them about A Touch of Evil 10-year anniversary edition.
So you guys can actually see a good portion of the A Touch of Evil 10-year anniversary edition in action right now over in the South Hall. They're doing previews all weekend, so you can dive in and actually play it. But it has a lot of crazy stuff in, much like the Last Night on Earth 10-year anniversary. There's a lot of plastic pieces that replace some of the cardboard components, plastic wounds, plastic investigation. There's also big plastic corner location pieces for each of the corner locations, which you can see again in the South Hall. The windmill, the old abandoned keep, Oldie Woods, the manor, and a miniature for the Spectral Horseman.
Oh,
and
that's really big.
One of the reasons that we wanted to do a miniature for the Spectral Horseman is because his favorite thing in life, or undead, as the case may be, is to ride around town lopping off heads as he goes. And so traditionally you just use the little counter of him to move around, but that's not nearly as cool as having a tiny horseman figure that is also headless. And you know, we saved a ton of money not having to produce the plastic for his head. Yeah. So
Sorry, I can't help myself. I was just going to say that it was supposed to have a head, but China forgot the head. And we're like, it could be headless. I don't know. Yeah.
Anyway, so one of the things that's really exciting about the 10-year anniversary Touch of Evil is that it does include a little bit of new game mechanics, gameplay aspect to it. If you guys are Touch of Evil fans, it has the first, hopefully the first, epic villain. So it's basically a deep dive into one of the villains. So whereas the game normally has the 4 Gothic horror villains, and you're hunting them down, trying to save the town of Shadowbrook from their evil ways, this basically has a lot more material that is specific to that one villain. And so it is something that I thought would be really cool from even before the original game was released 10 years ago. And made a lot of notes about it over the years, like, oh, it'd be really cool to come back and do this at some point. And so, a decade later seemed like, yeah, maybe I should dig out those old notebooks and we can use some of that interesting material. So some of the stuff that you get with the epic version of the villain, you get a new villain card, so it's got some new abilities, some slight tweaks to his stats and how he works. But then he also has a bigger minion chart that has more minions you can fight. He has new events on there. He also has three new decks of cards that are associated with him that are Spectral Horseman specific. So he's got hunting gear, Spectral Horseman hunting gear, which are like town items, but they're things that are unique to fighting the Spectral Horseman. So you can go and specifically get an old letter from King George from the Revolution calling the armies back to England because America is lost. And so if you have that, you can kind of whip it out and show it to him and be like, ha, see, now you can't cut my head up. Clearly. Or there's a couple of allies in there. One of them is a marked survivor. He's one of the watchmen in the town who the horseman got a crack at but didn't finish the job. And so he's got big bandages all over his neck and some blood there. And he's got stories to tell on how to avoid getting killed by the horseman. So if you get him to help you out, he gives you some investigation every turn, but it means the horseman wants to finish the job. So anytime the horseman comes out and starts riding around the board, instead of going to the town hall, he'll specifically target you and hunt you down to try to get that ally that you have with you because he's already been marked. So a lot of cool new ideas that kind of flesh out what it is all about fighting the Spectral Horseman. There's also Epic Villain Encounters, which are a deck of kind of super mystery cards that are all Spectral Horseman themed. And there's a new element which is objectives. So they're like little side quests that are Spectral Horseman themed. So the idea is that you get one at the start of the game, it goes out, draw randomly, goes out by the shadow track, and then anytime the shadow track crosses into a new stage, you add an additional objective. And so there are things like, finding and cutting down the blood tree, where it's the gateway to hell that he's coming from, or finding the rider's skull, or fortifying the town.
There's a baby present. Gateway to heck.
Sure. So yes, find the gateway to heck, and then chop off their heads.
There's blood everywhere. And you're like, oh heck!
Shoot. So basically little side quests that you can do along the way to get bonuses for fighting the horsemen that are horsemen themed. So it's really just a deep dive into the Spectral Horsemen. So I think that's it's going to be a lot of fun, and we're working on that now, trying to get it completed and out the door so everybody can enjoy it.
It really makes the Spectral Horsemen a cut above the other villains, I would say. Also, Spectral Horsemen, did you guys feel a chill wind? Anybody feel the chill in the room?
The reason
the Spectral Horseman is here with us today.
The Spectral Horseman is among us.
One of you is the Spectral Horseman. Will the real Spectral Horseman please stand up? Will the real Spectral Horseman please? Oh! There she is. Did you guys know the Spectral Horseman was a lady?
What a twist. It's the Lady Horseman.
It is a twist. No, it's really great because there's all these behind the scenes photos where it's like she's fully Spectral Horseman out, but then has a head, and it's like, we're like, Photoshop that off. We just got the miniature back from China. Take the head off.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for standing, Laura. As a piece of yes, let's hear it for the Spectral Horseman. As a piece of trivia, Laura also plays Sharon Hunter, the daring photographer from Fortune and Glory. Did you know? That's right. She moonlights as a Spectral Horseman. Which, if you think about it, it makes it very Scooby-Doo. Where they're like, what? The Spectral Horseman's actually Sharon Hunter. She's like, I would have gotten away with it too.
You can't pull a mask off if you don't have a hat.
You might. Or like they pull out and then like just like, whoomp. It could work.
Whack-a-mole style.
Whack-a-mole style. All right, so as Jason hinted at, we have a table in the South Hall where you can actually play a full preview of A Touch of Evil 10. It has all the new minis. They're just 3D prints because we don't have the minis back from China yet. But 3D prints all minis. You can see those new decks he was talking about. You can take on the epic villain for the first time.
Yeah, and hopefully if people enjoy what we did with the epic villain version of the Spectral Horseman, maybe we'll see other epic villains down the road, epic villain versions of the werewolf or the scarecrow or the vampire or whatnot. Because I think it's really fun to be able to do a deep dive into these bad guys and make the game that much more dripping with theme, but specific to each gothic horror villain.
Epic Sunken 7.
Epic Sunken 7.
With 7 miniatures.
7 miniatures.
No heads. It's China.
It's China.
It's China. Heck!